the special joint meeting of the City Council and Temple City Unified School District dated August 6th, 2020. Just a couple of announcements before we get started. To listen to the meeting telephonically, you can call 1-571-317-3122. The access code is 455-618-1449, or you can get that information on our website. Also, if you want to, those of you who want to watch the meeting, it is streaming live on YouTube, and that is Connect with TC, no spaces between the words, Connect with TC, and you can watch it live on YouTube. All right, just a couple of ground rules before we get started. You know, the council and the board have some small differences regarding running the meetings, and so we're going to attempt to accommodate those differences. I've spoken with Donna already, and as you can see from the agenda, we're going to have, after each agenda item, basically we'll call on each individual member for comments or questions. Just a reminder, as our city clerk was saying, it's better if you stay on mute until you actually speak. That way it's easier and we don't get a lot of background noise or interference. Okay, I think with that, we're ready to start. I will call the meeting officially to order. And of course, we will start with roll call. I'll ask our city clerk to please take roll call for the council.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Mann?
Here.
Councilmember Sternquist is absent. Councilmember Vizcarra?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yu?
I'm here.
Mayor Chavez?
Here. Did we get a motion to excuse Councilmember Sternquist for cause?
So moved. Mr. Mayor, I move to excuse Councilmember Sternquist for cause.
Okay. Second? Do we have a second? Fernando, thank you. All right, great. Okay. Any objection? If none, that'll be the order. And now, President Georgino, if you will take roll call for the school board.
We can't hear you, Donna.
Yeah, we can't hear you, but we can see you. All right, we'll wait, no rush.
You may want to call in because I think maybe your microphone is set up to the wrong mic.
Mike, can you run over there real quick and take care of that for us? Just kidding.
My glasses.
I think we can hear you now. I heard something.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right.
Okay, all right. I changed the mic.
Okay.
Board member Nolan.
Yes, I'm here.
Board member Smith.
Yes.
Board clerk Espinosa.
Yes, here.
Board vice president Lynn.
Here.
And I'm the board president and I'm also present.
Great. Thank you very much. Just a reminder that those who are calling in, your microphone will be unmuted during public comment, and when public comment is open during an agendized item discussion. You can also email your request to cityclerk@templecity.us. You should do that now and indicate on the subject line the item you wish to provide comment. Okay, and so with that, I will ask everyone to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Okay, so we're going to start tonight with sort of a brief introduction. It's actually been a while since many of us have seen each other, and we actually have some new members. So I'm going to ask, first of all, the council members to kind of give a brief self-introduction of yourself. Why don't we start with Council Member Mann?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is William Mann. I've been on the council since 2015 and was mayor 2 years ago. Before I was on council, I was the chair of our General Plan Advisory Committee and one of our area leaders for our Neighborhood Watch program. Been in Temple City with my family since 1992, except 4 years in college, and I love it here. And I have my son is supposed to be entering kindergarten at La Rosa at the end of this month. And I'm actually, Helen and I are actually expecting our second child any moment now. So it's possible I might bail on this meeting at any time.
Oh boy, that is right away. Okay. Well,
due date was supposed to be next week, but we never know. So
great. Well, congratulations. Thank you. Councilmember Vizcarra.
I'm Fernando Vizcarra. Is my mic on? Yeah. I'm Fernando Vizcarra, and this is kind of my second go around. I was previously on the council for 12 years, and I was termed out 4 years ago. And the existing council was gracious enough to appoint me when we had a vacancy on the council. So here I am again for however long. I'm a Temple City graduate. Both my daughters and wife are Temple City graduates. And we've been in Temple City, or I've been in Temple City over 50 years, gives you an idea. And I'm really not that old, but yeah. Anyway, I was previously on the joint council and school board committee before I left last time. In fact, weren't we both on it, Tom?
Yeah, I believe we were.
Yes. So I have a little experience, and that's it. I'm here to help in any way I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, you?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Vincent Yu, and actually, I was a plan commissioner for 6 years before running for council back in 2009. So it's been, I've been around a little bit. Actually, it was Fernando who appointed me to the plan commission a long time ago. So actually, I don't, both Councilman Min and I, we actually both work for the Department of Public Works, and actually I'm calling you from my office today. So looking forward to working with the school district. I personally believe in collaboration, in win-win time of negotiation. So I'm really looking forward to working with the school board.
Thank you very much. And I'm Tom Chavez. I am currently the mayor. This is my third term as the mayor. I was elected with Vince back in 2009. And previous to that, I served on the Parks and Recreation Commission as well. My family has grown up here in Temple City. I think we moved here in 1990, I believe. So lived here for a while, was president of the Temple City American Little League for a while. Still serve on the Little League district staff. We haven't had much Little League baseball. In fact, if this were normal times, I'd probably be at Live Oak Park right now watching a Little League a game, but unfortunately that's not going to be happening. So, but again, I'm glad we're meeting again, if only virtually. I've had a great deal of pleasure in working with the school board over the years, and I know that we have grown to have, I believe, a great partnership, and hopefully that will continue. I know it will, and through these difficult times. So thank you very much for coming. And with that, I will turn it over to Board President Georgino for introduction of her board.
Thank you. Member Nolenberg, would you like to go first?
Okay. This is Kenneth Nolenberg. I've lived in Temple City all my life. I was born in Alhambra and then I came home and I live in the same house that my parents left me when they both passed away. Also, I was on the joint committee with one other person and two people from the city where we discussed mutual problems. And now Smith and what is it? The other person, I can't find her easily. But now there's two people still carrying on, and we look forward to the city helping us and paying its fair share for everything that we have done, and we for the city and this. Hopefully, the city uses our services. Thank you.
Member Smith?
Hi, yes, my name's Matt Smith. I'm a 38-year resident of the community. Like Fern, this is sort of my second trip. I'm coming up on to 2 years in my current term, and then I served for 15 years before that and had a 5-year vacation in between. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Member Espinoza?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Melissa Espinoza. I was appointed to the board July of 2019, so I've only been on the board for a year. It's been quite a learning experience. And before that, I was actively involved in the district. I have 2 daughters that attend and have attended since they were in kindergarten. They're now both at the high school, both Brighter Side Singers. And so I grew up in San Gabriel, very close by to Temple City, but not in Temple City. And I'm just thinking about this opportunity and just wanted to share with you all that I really appreciate the opportunity for us to partner, and I'm looking forward to what we can do with this partnership. So thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. And Vice President Lynn?
Hi, I'm Mike Lynn. This is my first term on the school board. I was the principal of La Rosa School from 2010 to 2015. I'm currently working as a principal in San Marino Unified School District, which allows me to serve on the Temple City Unified Home School District community. I moved to the county section of San Gabriel in 2007, which is part of the Temple City Unified School District jurisdiction. My home is actually the midpoint between Emperor Elementary School and Carver School in San Marino Unified School District, where I am the principal there now.
Okay, thank you very much. And last but not least, I'm Donna Giorgino. I moved here to Temple City before it was a city, so that'll just give you an idea. I don't want to tell my exact age, but that'll give you an idea how long I've been here. My professional career was working as the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Duarte, and I also was an ROP teacher for Duarte Unified School District. So I have a long history of working with school districts and cities, and I'm really excited that we're here tonight to discuss various items that are on the agenda. Prior to being elected to the school board, I was a Parks and Recreation Commissioner for the city of Temple City, and I really enjoyed that. I was sorry to leave, but I very much enjoy being on the school board and working to help the students of Temple City Unified School District. So thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Donna. Well, as you can see, there's a lot of experience on these 2 boards, a lot of connection with Temple City, and I think it shows in the work that everyone does. I forgot to mention one thing. Contrary to popular view, I am not the mayor of disaster. The reason I say that is, if you recall, the first time I was the mayor is when we had our windstorms. And of course, here I am as mayor again, and we have our pandemic, of course. Fortunately, my second term as mayor, I don't believe there were any problems then. So hopefully it's not, I'm not a jinx. So anyway, but all right, well, with that, we will move on. I will go to next item, which is public comments. And so I will first begin by asking our city clerk if there are any public comment emails.
Mayor, I currently don't have any public comment email for this segment. I just want to give you a prelude that we do have some public comment emails for Temple City for Change later.
Okay, so we'll pick up that item when we get to it, I believe. So, all right, those who are online, is there anybody online listening in who would like to make a public comment at this time? Hearing none, I will close public comments and we will now move on to our next item, which is our discussion items. And we'll begin with item A, our Temple City Unified School District update. And so with that, again, Donna, I will turn it over to you for an introduction of those items. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. The first item is Temple City for Change. So would this be the appropriate time, Peggy, to read those comments?
If there are no presentations, if you want to go straight to the public comments, yes.
There will be a presentation. Our superintendent will do that. So
why don't you go ahead and do the presentation first?
okay, all right. So our superintendent, Kimberly Fricker, will do that presentation, I believe.
So I just want to address the Temple City for Change and the letters that we got as a school district. I don't have a formal presentation in response, but I can outline what Temple City School District is actually doing to respond to the students and the alumni who reached out to us and what we are doing as a unified district as a whole. So we did receive correspondence in the late spring, summertime from Temple Cities for Change. And it's a group of alumni who are really voicing concerns about their experiences within the school district and within student interactions in a way of expressing concern for cultural awareness and social justice issues and general societal issues that have been arising nationwide. And they wanted to have an outlet and a voice for our students and our alumni to make sure that their voices are heard as well. They did reach out to me, many of them, and I appreciate each and every one. I've responded to all of the students and alumni who have reached out to me. This is something that we, the Board of Education and the Temple City Unified School District, take extremely seriously. We want to make sure that every student has a very safe and engaging and enriching educational experience. And so to that, we are hosting a meeting with some of the founding members of Temple City for Change. Ms. Georgina, President Georgina, and myself are going to meet with students, talk about the concerns that they do have from past incidences or occurrences that have negatively impacted students by way of social injustice or just cultural insensitivity, and make sure that we accurately understand their concerns. From my time coming on the board, if you recall, coming in as superintendent, there was a new board election too. So our Temple City Unified School District board is relatively new as well as a unit. But since the very beginning, we have been forces for change across the district in terms of inclusion and making sure that acceptance is our motto, and including students in all areas of campus life and access to curriculum opportunities and programs is something that we've really championed, and we are going to continue to champion moving forward. Having said that, after, again, we are in the midst of a global pandemic, and that has kind of thrown a wrench in some of the plans for the district moving forward. However, we are looking at extensive training for staff in terms of just cultural sensitivity, awareness, and inclusion of students. We've begun that a year ago. We're going to continue that forward this year. We do know that the state is looking at the development of social justice and diversity curriculum. The superintendents have been very actively involved in the development of that curriculum thus far. I'm sure we will be as that continues to be developed over the course of this school year. And then whenever that's going to be released from the state, we would absolutely definitely implement into our school district at that time. To help us do that, we're looking at just a staff on a program specialist to ensure that we continue that training throughout our district and we continue those initiatives on inclusion and integration and acceptance across our district. So we do commend the students and the alumni for reaching out. I'm sure that they've reached out to the city as well. We've heard their voices. We will hear their concerns at the meeting that we're going to have shortly. I believe it's scheduled for the 10th, but I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that. And then we will make sure that we respond accordingly. So if there are incidences that have happened, I just want to commend Temple City for your sheriff's department. The police law enforcement have been great assistance to us in any investigations that we've had to put forward from this point. And so we've gotten a great response from law enforcement there. So thank you very much for that. But we will continue those efforts moving forward into the school year. So that would be my update and report on that.
Okay, thank you. Now, if any of the board members have questions or comments, I'll call on you one at a time and you can make those. Member Espinosa?
No comments.
Member Smith?
No comment. I've been keeping abreast of all the email and whatnot we've received and sent out, so I feel pretty comfortable with where we are.
Member Nolenberg?
Just a general comment, both the superintendent and the mayor have spent an awful lot of time helping work through the epidemic that's stricken the city of Temple City. And that's one of the reasons why we have so few patients that have passed away in Temple City. And I just like to congratulate all the people who have worked with Temple City and with the school board that have spent long hours and a lot of effort to help us be able to function as a school board, and the same thing applies to the city. I think that a lot of people underestimate how much work has been put forward by the superintendent and by the mayor and by his board and the superintendent's board towards the pandemic. Thank you.
Member Lynn?
Yeah, just a brief comment. I just want to express how happy I am to see that not only, we share the unity of purpose as a school board, but we also share the same unity of purpose with our municipalities, especially our biggest municipality, Temple City of Temple City, and their elected officials.
Thank you. And the only thing I wanted to say was I'm looking forward to meeting with the students. So thank you very much. Tom?
Great, thank you, President Georgino. Okay, we'll go ahead and call on our council members for any comments or questions on this issue. And we'll start with Council Member Mann.
Thank you. I just appreciate the update and the information. Thank you.
Okay, Council Member Stern, Council Member Viscara, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to thank the superintendent for the report. I'm trying to get up to speed. That helps a lot. Thank you.
And Mayor Pro Tem, you?
Likewise, I'm glad to hear the report, but I obviously is a little concerned because having read the open letter and there were so many folks actually signed their names to it. So I think I'm glad the school district is taking this seriously and would like to be kept in the loop of the conversation moving forward.
Thank you. I had to mute myself. My clock was going off and it would have been rather loud since I'm sitting right next to it. So, well, thank you for that report. You know, I wasn't aware of any of this actually until about a week or so ago, and I started receiving some emails from students that, as you know, in working with our youth committee and other projects with the school board, I've gotten the opportunity to meet quite a number of students, fantastic students, I think, good individuals. And, you know, it's something that I'm glad the school board is looking at straight on. I'm encouraged by the fact that you've agreed to meet with them and discuss their concerns. And it sounds like you will be taking steps to make sure those concerns are addressed. You know, it is a difficult time for us, and there's no question in the country, not only dealing with the virus, but everything else that's going on. I would only say that, and you mentioned that the sheriff has I guess, reached out or has assisted you in some way. And certainly if there's anything more that we can do from the city standpoint, whether it be the sheriff or staff, please do not hesitate to ask us, and we'll see what if anything, that we can do to assist you, since, you know, we're all in the same game. These are your students, but our residents as well. So we want to make sure that those things are taken care of. So thank you very much for that. And with that, I will then open up public comments, and I will first ask our city clerk if there are any public comment emails on this matter.
Yes, Mayor, there are 4 public comment emails. They're essentially very similar, but there's some changes towards the end of each comment. So with your,
Okay. Go ahead and read them.
Go ahead and read them. The first one is from Jillian Russo, ROUSSEAU. Dear Temple City Unified School District Board, my name is Jillian Russo, and I'm alumni of Temple City Unified School District. In regards to item 6AI TC for change, Temple City Unified School District has not made any of the changes listed on the open letter since July 21st. A total of 685 concerned citizens are still waiting for the demands to be met. Temple City Unified School District, I ask that you review the demands and enact the listed changes, beginning with a release statement acknowledging that Black Lives Matter and there is zero tolerance for any form of discrimination on all TCUSD campuses. In the midst of the recent deaths of Black Americans such as George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, and Elijah McClain, I have never heard leaders of Temple City say Black Lives Matter. You must acknowledge the pain your Black students are experiencing. You must acknowledge that your students of color need you to have compassion and say that you are here for them and you will fight for them. All identities must be represented and respected in your school district. We demand answers now on how you are going to make your campuses inclusive and actively anti-racist. Actions speak louder than words. I hope after reading my statement, you will do more as a community. Your student deserves to be acknowledged, appreciated, and heard, and we simply ask that you stand with us and be a part of the change in your own community. Thank you for your time, sincerely. Then I have an email from Jose Peralta. Good evening. Thank you so much, City Council and School District Board, for giving me the chance to comment. To keep it short and get right to the point, I'd like to let you know that that a mere 16 days have passed since 685 people who have shown concern in the community have called for change listed in the open letter. While it is understandable that change requires time and commitment, taking time to write your appreciation, love, and condolences to Black lives and there is no tolerance for discrimination of any kind should not take 16 days. It does not take 16 days for the Temple City School District to acknowledge that it failed its students. It does not take 16 days for you to accept that this is how things should always be. Safe and protected by all faculties from any form discrimination and bigotry. It does not take 16 days to show you care about these serious topics and situations. It does not take 16 days to acknowledge the fact that this country was built on racism and that police brutality has prevailed our country and that you like to be better. and be the change kids dream of having. While Temple City has made empathetic comments, they have not yet to address zero discrimination within all Temple City schools. Please stop failing us. We want to love it here. We can't do it without you. Thank you. I have a public comment from Zoe Sue. Good evening. Thank you, Council and Temple City Unified School District Board for giving me the opportunity to comment. In regard to item 6AI, TC for Change, a total of 16 days have passed since 685 plus concerned citizens have called for the changes listed in the open letter. While I understand that some change require more time than others, releasing a statement that Black Lives Matter and that there is zero tolerance for any form of discrimination on TCUSD campuses does not take 16 days. It does not take 16 days to show your Black students and students of color that you care about their lives. It does not take 16 days to show your students that you sympathize with their experiences. It does not take 16 days to acknowledge the police brutality and racism that has plagued our country. Although the school board has released empathetic statements, none of them specifically address Black lives, as well as zero tolerance for discrimination on all TCUSD campuses. If you like an example, I would suggest looking at Atlanta Board of Education statement, where they explicitly state Black Lives Matter, address police brutality and racism in this country, and acknowledge their students. 685 people are demanding that changes are made. Over 64 students and alumni have submitted testimonies regarding incidences of sexism, racism, homophobia, and disability discrimination. We're looking to you as educators and leaders of the community to make positive changes for your students and their families. Do not ignore the pleas from the community. To the members of the public, I urge you to visit tcforchange.carrd.co for the full open letter and more information. The website again is tcforchange.carrd.co. Thank you very much for your time, sincerely. I have 3 more public comments, one from Edmund Wong. My name is Edmund Wong and I'm an alumni of Temple City Unified School District. In regards to item 6A, ITC for Change, Temple City Unified School District has not made any of the changes listed on the open letter since July 21st. A total of 685 concerned citizens are still waiting for the demands to be met. TCUSD, I ask that you review the demands and enact the listed changes, beginning with the release statement acknowledging that Black Lives Matter and there is zero tolerance for any form of discrimination on all Temple City Unified School District campuses. Your students deserve to be acknowledged, appreciated, and heard, and we simply ask that you stand with us and be a part of the change in your own community. Sincerely. Stephen Sellis. Dear Temple City Unified School District School Board, my name is Stephen Sellis, and I'm a recent graduate of TCUSD. In regards to item 6AI, TC for Change, Temple City Unified School District has not made any of the changes listed on the open letter since July 21st. A total of 685 concerned citizens are still waiting for the demands to be met. TCUSD, I ask that you review the demands and enact the listed changes, beginning with the release statement acknowledging that Black Lives Matter and there's zero tolerance for any form of discrimination on all Temple City Unified School District campuses. Your students deserve to be acknowledged, appreciated, and heard, and we simply ask that you stand with us and be a part of the change in your own community. Thank you. I'm utterly embarrassed to hail from Temple City, a district that claims to listen to student needs, but turns away from these same students. I demand there be justice for the racially discriminated students, the sexually harassed students, and lastly, the students who felt that Temple City had turned away on their promises to aid their students. Without justice for these students, there is no justice. Temple City School Board, you are dealing with students, most of whom are over 18 and have the power to vote. Vote you out of your seat and elect another candidate who will listen to their needs. Our parents may have voted you in your chair, but us students can and will vote you out. Hear us and help your students. Sincerely. One last email from Tuan Nguyen. Dear Temple City Unified School District Board, I'm Tuan Nguyen, and I'm a senior of TCUSD. As a relentless optimist, I wanted to touch on the silver lining of what's been happening with item 6AI, Temple City for Change. TC for Change, excuse me. The district is in a position right now that can immensely and positively affect this generation of students by directly acknowledging your stance alongside students, current and alumni alike. You can show the thousands of students of TCUSD that they have power in a representative democracy. As a district dedicated to preparing responsible citizens, such an action is paramount to making sure that your students can take away the idea that it's worth it to raise their voice against injustice of any kind. And as a student with a great passion for government and positive change, I ask that you release a formal statement acknowledging that you are here for all students, especially minority students who face a complex host issues, visible and invisible to district adults. Lastly, I ask that you take the demands of TC for Change seriously. As someone who has been following a similar movement, diversify our narrative, and as someone very familiar with its founder, I can assure you that these demands take many issues into consideration and present viable solutions for change. Thank you for your time and your work. That's the end of the public comment email, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I will ask you to unmute the public microphones at this time and getting some feedback, but ask if anybody who is on the line wishes to speak. Okay, well, hearing no one, I will close public comment. Well, it looks like this matter has obviously struck a chord. I don't know, Superintendent Fricker, if you have any response to any of those emails. If not, we will move on, or if anybody else has any questions or comments at this time.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. The absolute fact of the Board of Education, myself as superintendent, and Temple City Unified School District is that there is zero tolerance for discrimination, harassment, injustice, and cultural insensitivity in our district. When we hear of it, receive information that such a thing has happened, there are prompt investigations. And like I said, I do want to just thank law enforcement for their assistance throughout the school year, but also throughout the summer in tracking down and looking at some of the students' posts, and wherever we could track it back and do an investigation, we tried to do so, and law enforcement was right there. Many of our students have graduated and they are over the age of 18. And so it really is a joint effort between the school district and law enforcement at that point. And law enforcement has been a great partner to us in trying to track that down. Should it be current students, we are working with our current administration and those teams to do prompt investigations, and then working with families along the way so that we can thoroughly understand the difficulty that a student is expressing, and then we can promptly address that or make change moving forward. But absolutely 100%, we do believe in a zero tolerance environment throughout Temple City Unified School District on any sort of discrimination, harassment, or inappropriate behavior. So that is our pledge, that is our commitment. In several meetings over the course of the summer, myself and I think every single board member has voiced commitment to that. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that, those comments. Those difficult issues that of course, we're not immune from here in Temple City. We've seen it happen all over the country. I applaud students for speaking up on these issues and taking a stance. But at the same time, I would urge them to have the patience to get things done and get them done in a correct manner. What you had indicated, I believe, that you were going to schedule a meeting for the 10th, but is that August 10th or September 10th? I didn't hear a month.
We are working with a representative from Temple City for Change in their group, and we are scheduling that meeting for a small group of their representatives and then myself President Georgino, and a couple other members from the executive team in Temple City Unified School District. We had a couple dates on the table. One was the August 10th and one was the 11th or the 12th. I'm not quite sure where that has solidified, but it will be in the upcoming week where we have a conversation with those students and really understand from their perspective, their experiences, and really where we want to go with this movement for the entire school district and for the city. So we're actively engaged in listening to the students, and we're actually excited to kind of sit down and have that meeting and then make some progressive action and decision coming out of that meeting.
May I chime in really quick?
Thank you for that. Yes, Member Espinosa, go ahead.
I just wanted to chime in and say that while there's a lot of work going on that may take a little time and appreciate the public's patience, I think we're also acknowledging that there is definitely work to be done here and we can do it together. And I think that's the point of having the dialogue and seeing how we can come to solutions together to be the best that we can be, to show our commitment and actively say we do believe Black Lives Matter and we do believe in diversity and inclusion. So I just wanted to make that point that we're not saying that the report that we've given is everything we're willing to do. There's a lot more to be done and we'd like to do it together with the community.
Great. Thank you for that comment. I think some of you may remember that, time goes by so weird now with everything that's going on. I don't know if it's been a month or two. We had the Black Lives Matters rally and march down Las Tunas. I thought it was organized very well. I believe it was organized by former and current students of Temple City. And I thought it was done very well, very done gracefully and professionally on behalf of not only the students and the participants. There were members of the city council there. The sheriff's department did a fantastic job. And I think we were able to show not only to ourselves, but to others, how these things can be handled in a good way without resorting to things that we've seen around the country, violence and others. And I have no doubt in my mind that Temple City, as well as the Temple City Unified School District, does take this very seriously and will address these issues. I'm glad that it sounds like we're going to have a meeting sooner than later. And I would reiterate my offer that if there's anything that the city can do, it's kind of unfair that you should have to bear the burden alone. I realize it's the students who are talking about it, but obviously, that when they say TC for change, TC is Temple City, and whether we need to do something or, is maybe another issue. But again, we're out there to help and to assist you in any way, and I want to let the students out there who are listening and knowing that we're prepared to help as well. So thank you for that report and those comments. And did I clerk, Madam Clerk, did I close public comment? I can't remember now.
No, sir.
If I didn't, I will close public comment. So thank you for that reminder. Okay, so now we will move on to the second item, the start of the school year. So who will be taking the lead on that one?
I will lead on that item. Do we have permissions to share a small presentation, or do you just want me to speak to the item? Mr. Mayor.
Whichever you prefer. Do we have that item, Brian?
I would share my own screen.
We can have you as the presenter. Ms. Quo, can you share that with the superintendent?
Can you have Hannah Getty be the presenter, and then I will navigate the conversation?
Sure.
Perfect.
The city clerk will take care of that.
Yes.
And just an update while we're waiting, the meeting with Temple City for Change is on August 12th. So we will be having that meeting with them. And then we will be deliberating on that and then rolling out an action plan for how Temple City Unified School District will be addressing the issue.
Thank you.
So anyway, the permissions for presenting are not there. So let me just talk you through the opening of school. So we had intended at the end of the school year to go into a hybrid situation in the fall where students would be coming on to campus intermittently. And then with the rise in COVID cases as the pandemic progressed, we were notified by Governor Newsom's office that school districts were in fact allowed to, school districts in the counties where we were on the watch list were in fact allowed to go into a full 100% digital or online format for the fall. And so that does require the waiving of an education code by the governor. So we were waiting for that to happen. Once he did waive the education code, then everything shifted to a virtual start, a completely online start to the school year. So that is where we are. We've been working all through the summer. Many people from curriculum to personnel to business to student services, special education services have been working to put together a plan where students would remain home in a virtual environment. Our teachers would then teach and instruct all curriculum and instruction on and through the computer. So students will be issued devices and technology to access the curriculum and the instructional components, and our staff will be provided with the learning management platform, and that is just the digital platform where all of the curriculum instruction will be housed, and they can put on assignments, put on assessments, make sure that they have interactive curricular activities and engagement activities online for students to access. I know that with regard to curriculum, the Director of Curriculum Instruction, Dr. Gomez, and the Executive Director of Student Services, Ms. Hannah Getty, they have worked to compile trainings for our staff. They've have supportive software for our staff to use so that they have different engagement strategies for students. It is a radically different approach than what we went into in terms of the closure last spring. It is a very robust learning management system that can actually deliver the state approved curriculum to students. And it has a variety of ways of engaging students, even from our youngest learners, our TK to K students, kinders, all the way up through our advanced placement students at the high school level. So our staff has been, first of all, I want to just thank all of our union leadership for helping us compile what we believe is going to be a robust learning system for our families. And our teachers are actively engaging in training all summer long. And for teachers in the summertime, it should be about vacation, and it's really not. And they've really immersed themselves in diving in and one, being a part of a task force to figure it out, and then two, engaging in the training so that they can be prepared for the fall. So as it looks now, we are going to be publishing the schedules for elementary and the schedules for secondary in the next week. We just had a meeting last night with our own Board of Education. Oh, it is there? Okay, can I go forward? It is coming up on the screen, so let me just fast forward a bit.
If you would let me know which slide, I would have to do that for you. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Can you just move forward 2 slides to number 3? Okay, so the framework that we are going to look at to reopen schools really starts with Department of Health guidelines, and that would be the guidelines put out for students to keep students safe and in a protective environment. It was the recommendation by the LA County Department of Public Health to the governor's office as the cases were rising that we actually could go into a virtual or an online start to the school year. We also want to follow their guidelines for staff to keep our staff safe. Staff will have access to the campuses to needed materials or instructional components, and to create videos for our students to gain access to the curriculum and the units of study that they are going to be looking at. But we also want to make sure that we follow the Department of Public Health guidelines for community access. Currently, our facilities have been closed since March of last year. They've not really been permitted to be reopened, and that's just to keep the staff who have to come on campus safe, and minimizing unneeded guests from coming onto our campus will keep our staff as safe as possible. So we appreciate the community greatly and all of the support that we get. And so we do apologize for the difficulty of limiting that campus access to only designated staff at this time. And then we want to make sure that we are following all of the infectious control measures and illness management should somebody become ill on our campus, or should someone in the community or students become ill. We do have an obligation as a school district to do contact tracing and make sure that we work with the California or the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health so that they can keep their epidemiology and contact tracing lists current. Moving on to personnel services, we are providing a safe, oh, can you go back? Yeah. We're providing a safe environment for staff to come on campus with all of the personal protective equipment that they need, the thermometer testing, the designation of workspaces, and then again, the illness and contact tracing, and then the training and communication that needs to go out with our staff. So personnel services is working on that. With regard to safety and security, we've done inventories of all of our facilities and inspections of our facilities. We've made needed changes to parts of the facilities to make sure that they are safe, and that even the staff that is currently working on our school sites are practicing social distancing and requiring the same protective equipment that is needed. Again, with curriculum instruction, I touched briefly on that. And then with fiscal management, we did receive word from the governor's June revised meeting of a slightly better budget than the May revised meeting. But we do have deferrals that will be coming to education and possible municipalities by way of cash flow. So we are keeping a very good monitor on our reserve spending and non-reserve spending and our cash flow management. So could you go to the next slide, please? So with business services, we do have a good stockpile of masks, face shields, disposable gowns, gloves, thermometers, plexiglass barriers in our warehouses. The plexiglass barriers have been installed in most of our sites, and they are currently being installed. So the start of school, they will have designated work areas and the plexiglass partitions. And then the thermal temperature monitoring. Currently we have just handheld thermal scanners, but then we are looking at purchasing a entrance point thermal scanner. So you walk through and it reads your temperature and it can tell if you have an elevated temperature or not. And this, when students are able to come back on campus, it will permit students to come on as quickly as possible. It can read up to 16 individuals at a time, and it can actually kind of identify a student or person who has an elevated temperature so that we can prevent them from coming on to our campus. We are also working at implementing contact tracing and a system where you would report your symptomology the evening before you walk onto campus, and you're going to be given a QRL code so that you can actually walk through saying that you have passed the symptomology check. Can you move forward? Next slide, please. Okay, maintenance and operations. I touched briefly on this prior. There's been some adjustments. There is hand sanitizing stations in all of our classrooms and all of the offices and workspaces on every single campus. In the lavatories or the restrooms where there was not a paper dispensing device on the wall, we have put those in place. So in some cases where you just have the air dryers, then you would have to touch with your fingers the handle to open the door. And then obviously you could get something on your hands. So by putting in the paper towel dispenser, you can actually use the paper, touch the door, open the door, and then exit the restroom. And then we have additional cleaning supplies in all of our warehouse. We usually build out about a 3-month supply so that we're never without. On the Fridays moving forward, there will be a deeper sanitizing schedule. All of our sites will have, every custodial team will have a sanitizing schedule that they follow and make sure that every campus is being sanitized to the strictest of levels throughout the school days. And then there will be a deeper set of that happening and occurring on that Friday of each week. And then we are looking at our HVAC units and making sure that we add extra filtration on them and that we are changing the filters for the HVAC units regularly. And that is just to make sure that the air quality within the school district is as high as it possibly can be. Next slide, please. With regard to food services, our food services team has developed grab and go lunches since we are going in a virtual environment. The grab and go lunch service is going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and families can pick up meals at Emperor, Longden, and the high school. There will be designated signs, much like we had in the spring at the high school, so that families can pull in, get your grab and go lunch for your students, and then pull out and not have to exit your vehicle. This drive-through option seemed to work very well last year. And then we will also have walk-up options at the 3 sites available this time so that we can service more families more quickly. All meals are going to be prepackaged and that will cut down on any transfer of virus and make sure that the lunches that our families are taking have the utmost quality and care put into them. Next slide. With regard to curriculum instruction, we do want to make sure that we adhere to some of the waivers that Governor Newsom had put forward in education to allow the online environment to occur. And we are adhering to kinder having a week's worth of 180 minutes. 1st through 3rd grade is 30 minutes, and then 4th through 12th is 240 minutes. That is the minimum amount of education required within the weeks, so we will adhere to that. We also are layering on physical education and music throughout the K-12 environment so that students can have access to PE and music at the elementary level, and then their regular course of electives at the high school as well. So, can you move forward, please? Elementary, again, it's going to be a Monday through Thursday schedule. The Friday schedule, students will be in session every single day. They will check in every single day, and there will be both synchronous and asynchronous instruction. And that is where you are with your teacher and your class, and you can see them live on, say, a Zoom call or a Google Meets situation like we are currently. Or it could be where students are practicing independent work on their own, and then they come back to the group. So teachers are using that learning management system to navigate students in both a group environment like we are now, and then independent work on their own. Everything will be housed on that learning management system, and I'll get to the Canvas slide in a minute. But this is really what our elementary schedule looks like, and you'll notice that PE and music are towards the end of the day. We do want to make a steady focus on the core areas of instruction in the earlier parts of the day. Next slide, please. Oak will have their learning distance schedule is outlined. We want to make sure that for the secondary students, they do follow their periods of instruction. For the secondary folks, it will be more of a block setting. So periods 1 and 2 would be on Monday and Wednesday, and periods 3 and 4 would be on Tuesday and Thursday, so that they they regulate the amount of work that they have at a given evening to less subjects so they can have more focused study on those subjects. So the secondary schedule would be on a block, but we try to make sure that the elementary and the secondary schedules matched up in terms of time so that it would be very consistent for families who had students in all three levels of education. Next slide. And then here is the schedule for the high school. And you can see that it's very similar to the intermediate school. Next slide. Again, those schedules will be published to families in the coming week. We do try to get out public communication every week to our families with any updates. As we go into the school year, those communications will increase, and so that everybody can be aware, and then they will also be located on our website. Devices, students will need devices and also instructional materials in terms of consumable instructional materials, and that looks varied in terms of elementary and then some of the elective classes that we have. But those, we will have a drive-through checkout for devices and consumables. And so more information will be coming to our families as those schedules evolve, and they will be notified as to how to come and pick up devices and the consumable materials the students will need for the school year. Next slide. Statewide assessments, we are still on the, there's been no waivers for statewide assessments. So there's currently scheduled to proceed. Now that could change in the upcoming months. We're not quite sure. I know that the Department of Health and the state are, they're actively trying to put out guidelines and plans as quickly as we are. So with anything this large, it does take a lot of thinking and input before guidelines do come out. So we do appreciate the work that they are doing at both the county and the state level. And so as we get updated information on statewide assessments, we will pass those on to our community and our families. LPAC, these are for our English language learners. There is August assessments, and those language proficiency assessments are still scheduled to take place. And we also have to look at some of the special education assessments that, you know, we will need to address throughout the following school year. So next slide. The learning management system is Canvas, and it does provide a one-stop shop for all of the curriculum and instructional materials to sit on that learning management system. Teachers are being actively trained on that system and how to convert all of their lessons that they would normally do in person into an online digital environment. It does take a tremendous amount of work to convert the materials. I do commend all of the TCUSD teachers for the work that they've done this summer and the work that they honestly will be doing throughout the course of this year, especially for the fall as they make those conversions happen. But we do think that this is something that is not just a short-term fix for the district. We have really approached this as what are the tools that we can use as a district that will have the greatest impact on our students for the longest duration of time. And we know that as we have transitioned to a more digital environment, that is not going to decrease after COVID goes away. We will still have a heavy reliance on technology and especially instructional technology. So we wanted to give the staff the tools that they would be using for a very long time, so that the energy and effort that they did put forward would not be wasted, but it would be preserved, and it would actually have greater impact through the longevity of our district. Next slide. The curriculum and instructional tools. So we did add some instructional software to assist our staff. The top portion is just the current curriculum and instructional programs that we have adopted across the district. Though most of those, all of those programs can be purchased digitally, and in the adoption process, we were mindful of either purchasing them at the onset or acquiring them after, so that they would sit on this learning management system and deliver the curriculum instructional components to the students. In addition to that, we also have researched different instructional tools like Nearpod, vocabulary, Gizmo, Seesaw, iReady. Some of them we've already had in the district, and we used as ancillary curriculum and instructional tools for our staff, and some we have added to our repertoire so that our staff can have a variety of software to engage students. One of the main components in the state reporting that we have to do to account for what our curriculum and our instructional delivery is going to be during the COVID pandemic is to address learning loss and the continuation of learning. And so these tools help us gather information and data, and it helps us, that data will actually show progress towards skill development, and it can actually be used as, you know, resources and tools to prevent learning loss and to provide evidence to the state that we are focused on the continuance of learning. Next slide. Professional development and parent meetings. So again, I just want to reiterate that we are trying to provide professional development to our staff with the accessibility that, you know, that staff can attend those trainings. We are also providing additional support. We have deployed our district techs, our technicians, to the large school sites so that both staff and students, should they need technical support, they would have readily available technical support to them. We also have teachers on special assignment, or a TOSA position, and they are focused on innovation. They are focused on helping staff navigate the development of this digital curriculum and instructional tools. And if staff needs the instructional support, the TOSA, or the teacher on special assignment, will actually provide that support to staff. We have classified support, and then we have training that goes all the way on Canvas, training that goes all the way through August, and then we will continue training throughout the fall semester. With parents, we also know that parents will need help navigating the learning management system, which is Canvas. And so we are creating, we're going to be having it readily available training, little webinars for our staff, for our parents, and then we will give them extra support as needed. But we do understand that parents, it's a shift for parents too. And even though they had some exposure to that in the spring, we know that if we want this to be successful, we're going to need to partner with our parents to make this as successful as possible. So virtual meetings will be set up in addition to those video trainings that we will provide for our parents. Next slide. Attendance and discipline. So the state has decided that we will gain our funding, our average daily attendance funding, through our prior enrollment numbers. But we will be taking daily attendance, staff will be taking daily attendance, and we will then provide intervention for students who are not attending or students who are having difficulty attending. And so we are really working with our counseling and our support staff to make sure that we are addressing students and parents who have difficulty attending, because obviously in the digital environment, that is going to become very critical for the student's success. And then on the discipline side, we do need to focus on digital citizenship. This is a great opportunity to make sure that our learners know what it means to have digital citizenship and how to interact on a digital environment in a very safe manner, but in a very appropriate manner. So we are currently working on that with our site administration, and we will be communicating that out to our students and our parents as well. Next slide. On to personnel services. We're currently making sure that we are fully staffed. We did have a retirement incentive at the end of the school year last year. So the personnel office has been very, very busy on hiring all of our staff for the upcoming school year and making sure that all of those open positions are filled. The same thing with our certificated and classified positions. With COVID, there are leaves, and those situations are handled on a case-by-case basis. So in some cases, we are, employing the need of substitutes, but personnel services is handling all of that. They are also going through their mandated training, mandated reporter, anti-harassment training, Title IX training, and then sexual harassment training, and making sure that all of our staff go through the full battery of training prior. It rolls out this month and it will go through September. And they do a very good check and balance to make sure everybody, including the Board of Education, are all trained. Next slide. We will allow our staff to come on site and work on site. Currently, we're putting forth safety protocols to make sure that they have designated workspaces, they have the proper protection, protective equipment, that they are 6 feet apart, and that they are social distancing at all times. We understand that it's not having seen each other for a long time. If people come on site, it's going to be very tempting not to give a handshake or a hug, but we are going to be making sure that our staff is as safe as possible should they want to work from the school site. And in some cases, our classified staff will have to work from our school site just because of the jobs that they do. So we want to make sure that they are safe at all time. We have gone through campuses to declutter workspaces so that our custodians have a greater chance of deeply sanitizing every evening, every day, and then on a deeper level on Fridays. And then making sure that, we just kind of limit the use of campuses. We've also limited some work hours for our staff, for our teaching staff, our instructional staff, from 7 to 3:30 it actually should be, so that they have access to the tools that they need, but that we don't have just congregations of people coming on, and that will just help us keep everybody safe and sound. Next slide. With regard to special education, we have worked diligently with the Office of Education, and then also with our local special education agencies to make sure that we are providing all of the services to our students. I know that letters will be going out in the mail so that we offer free and appropriate education for all of our students with special needs, and that their IEPs or their individual education plans are being met with fidelity even through this COVID pandemic. So we are working with families. Communications will go out on an individualized basis, and then we will provide the services that they need to be successful in their academic goals. So there's much work to do there. I think this is probably one of the more difficult areas just because of its individualized nature, but we do have a team of people with a great degree of focus so that these students do not kind of get left behind, and that they actually get a great amount of attention paid in terms of their unique needs, and that we work with their families to ensure that we are meeting those unique needs. Next slide. We do have a superintendent's task force that has been meeting throughout June and July and the summer to meet the start of school. I want to just thank that committee for all of the work that they've done. We also have a technology committee that was formed this summer, and they have been meeting throughout the summertime as well. And they've done a tremendous amount of work to put a completely digital start program together for the 2020-21 school year. Ms. Hannah Getty, who is also in this meeting, has led the technology task force, and so they have really put together the critical elements that will host the curriculum and then deploy it out to our families. So we just want to thank all of the staff members who contributed to this great effort. Next slide. Any questions from either board? My board's already heard this last night, so I just gave you the abridged version right now.
I think what we'll do is we have it on the agenda to give everybody the chance to ask questions or make comments. So we'll start with the Board of Education and Board Member Smith. Do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, as a side note, I hope it's pretty obvious to everybody the tremendous amount of time and effort that has been put in to planning for the opening of schools. And it's changed many times and had different iterations over the summer. And really kudos go to Kim and her team, our union partners, everybody who's been involved for working through all the details to make this happen, as well as I know it's going to happen.
Thank you. Board Member Nolenberg?
Yes, I echo Matt's comments. The hard work that all the people put in to make this possible, and also one of the things that people keep underestimating is Dr. Michael Lynn gave a presentation about the Black Lives Matter and racial equality. And I think all the board members signed up for that, are supported it at the meeting about 2 weeks ago, two or three meetings ago. And so I would recommend that some people read that message that Dr. Lynn said on the articles about people. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Board Member Lynn?
Yeah, I just want
Do you have any
to,
comments?
yeah, just a quick summary of what I shared yesterday. Just that bear in mind that the amount of work that Kim and her administration, our teachers, the task force, the principals, the amount of work that went in. Also bear in mind that instructional services right now is in flux, and there's a transition. They're rebuilding the team right now. So I'm just amazed at the level of quality in the product that you have presented.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment, I think for the city council, the city staff, the community, I think you can rest assured that our superintendent and our staff are working diligently to ensure that the children of the Temple City Unified School District are going to continue to get the same top-notch education that they've always received. Member Espinosa, would you like to make any comments?
Yes. So in my day job, I work for Los Angeles Unified School District in the Office of General Counsel, and we've been living and breathing, not only in my day job, but in the board job, living and breathing the many challenges that come with the pandemic as it relates to education. And I think I just want to commend Dr. Fricker and her team and the level of collaboration that has happened in our district. I feel as just as the other board members that, you know, look, we're charting, we're going into uncharted territory here. And so there's going to be bumps along the way. But I think we're all committed to continuing the dialogue to kind of get through those bumps and to support one another. And just seeing, you know, teachers getting training during the summer and the staff working tremendous amount of hours. I know that we planned for something great and we're ready for whatever glitches that we have to face. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, President Georgino. Or did you want to say something? Go ahead.
I already did, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Councilmember Mann, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mayor Chavez, and thank you, Dr. Fricker, for that presentation. Of course, me being a parent with a child who is about to enter the Temple City Unified School District, it gives me greater confidence knowing that you have a stellar team working so hard during the summer to plan and prepare for the upcoming school year. It's unprecedented on so many levels, so understandably, there are challenges that no one can really see or predict. And so the plan that you've presented to us, speaking as both as a city council member, but also as a parent, I'm very happy that you've shared this with us, that you've been transparent about the process and the steps that is taken. And I wish the best for everyone, and hope that as we learn through each week, things are changing day by day in the situation. The best we can do is adapt, learn, adjust, and plan ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Vizcarra, any comments or questions? Still with us?
I think he's on mute.
No. You're on mute, Fernando. There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I started to say, I'm not an educator, but I was an administrator, and I can appreciate a large effort going into planning and everything else that you've been doing. So, and it's a good education for me to observe this. So we appreciate what you're doing, and got a lot of work ahead of you. I had one question. You mentioned devices, and I was wondering, as you were talking, do all the kids have laptops, or how does that work?
Well, at the start, all of the children did not have laptops. We've worked very diligently to procure additional devices. Some are laptops, some are Chromebooks, so that each grade level, the secondaries are going to get laptop devices, and the lower elementaries are going to be using the Chromebook devices. We are very fortunate to have a very device-friendly foundation who has, contributed to that effort. And then through the procurement of additional devices, we are set to make sure that our students do have TCUSD devices to access the curriculum on.
Great. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I must say that I was very impressed with Superintendent Fricker's presentation. I didn't realize, even though I kind of dealt with it, but definitely not to the same volume of people under my care. And so really want to commend you and commend the school board for taking the time and care to really thought things through. I have to say, I was totally impressed. And I learned a few things myself as well that perhaps I can use in my office. But just to balance things a little bit, we just talked about the TC for change, but I really think that the audience should also hear, just based on the preparation for school year, that we do have a good school board. We do have a good superintendent and staff really thinking it through. And I think the preparation for the start of school is a great demonstration of that. So it's great to hear it tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, I echo the statements by my colleagues. A couple of questions. How many students do we have in our school system total, approximately? Does anyone know how many we have?
We have just under 5,500.
5,500, okay.
Just
I think it would be fair to say that you are working as a small city within a city. And that obviously presents numerous challenges, no question about that. And it's interesting. You see in the news how people are out there saying, we want our children back to school, or we don't want them back in school. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing, obviously. Given the presentation tonight, it's just not a question of flipping a switch. And I do it. I know the council and the city appreciates all the hard work that you are doing to get our kids educated in the best way that you can. Just one last question. I've noticed in the news recently that there has been some call for maybe starting the lower grades before the upper grades. Has there been any discussion about that?
There has been. We have weekly conversations with both the LA County Department of Health, Dr. Farrar, and then also with the state on that issue. There are state waivers that have been put forward, and that is for your lower elementary students. Those state waivers are approved by your county Department of Public Health based on if you're on the watch list, if the county's on the watch list or not, and the number of cases or the rise in cases or the fall of cases, to make sure that should they approve a waiver for those lower elementary students to come on campus, those would be the first group that could come on campus, that they would have to approve that based on the current health conditions and just a number of prevalent cases that the county is seeing. So it's very much a case-by-case basis. The only waivers that have come forward thus far with students returning to school are the lower elementary, the primary grades. And on the call today, they did say that, you know, you would have to have several different letters of support for a district or a private school, an entity to put forward those waivers. And that would have to include your staff, your Board of Education, and your parent community, parent groups would be in support of the district applying for such a waiver, and then subsequently the LA County Department of Health approving those waivers. So there is a process for it, and it just depends on if you're on the watch list or not. Right now we are, so it is a mechanism. Should that watch list, should we fall off of the watch list and actually become in a lower case, COVID case county, then we would be eligible for such a waiver.
Okay, I don't think I'm gonna hold my breath on that, unfortunately. Hopefully people will start wearing their mask more, but okay. I do want to give a shout out to your food services though. They are a well-oiled machine, let me tell you. I had the privilege of being able to hand out lunches at the end of the school year this past year. And I think is it Marisol? Is that who's in charge?
Yes, it's Marisol. And thank you for your service.
You're very welcome. It was a lot of fun. They do a great job, you know, and I think it's a great thing that people seem to take advantage of, and it was good. And so I'm glad to see that that's going to work out again, and whatever way we can help out, we will do that. Okay, so I will now open up public comments. I will ask our city clerk if there are any public comment emails on this matter.
Mayor Chavez, there are no public comment emails.
Thank you. And anyone from the public, if you want to go ahead and unmute the microphones, anybody would like to say anything at this point? Hearing none, I will close public comments. And we will now move on to our next item, and that is the facility use child care program.
And Dr. Fricker, are you going to do that, or is Hannah?
So I'm going to talk on the facility use, and then I am going to transfer it over to Hannah for childcare, and I will kind of get the ball rolling. With regard to facility use, I kind of mentioned it in my previous presentation that as of right now, the campuses are shut down, and it's because we are on that watch list. We're still under the same Department of Public Health order to have a minimal number of people coming together in groups or congregating on the campus. So that would be a continuation. They did kind of let us know and give the indication that that would continue for some time, that even when we come back to campuses, we're going to have a phased approach to coming back to campuses. Right now, it's just the essential workers that need to come back and use and access the facilities. Teachers would be welcome back on campus. Obviously, they may need their classrooms and materials and instructional tools. And then, you know, as we come off of that watch list, that as the county comes off the watch list, then we would gradually be bringing back different components onto the campus. So as that phased approach goes, to open up the campus with facility use, that would be the last phase. And it's it's kind of one of those things where we're all kind of waiting and anticipating for it. Many of us anticipated that we would be eligible to do that in the fall. And so I know that I did make some comment and acknowledgement to the class of 2021, because their senior year is going to be significantly different, with not having activities, sporting activities, the artistic programs that we normally would see. Those are currently on hold. We're still building and planning, but in anticipation of when we can bring those things back. But it's definitely a little heart-wrenching when we think about the students and their experience with their senior year, or the students, throughout the district who are used to, having and engaging in some of these activities that cannot happen at this time. So we are hopeful that we can get off the watch list as soon as possible, but we will definitely keep the city updated. I know that Mr. Cook and I speak, regularly, and thank you, Mr. Cook, for checking in and making sure that we're kind of in sync between the city and the school district. I think that we have a great partnership and a great open line of communication. So thank you for that. With regard to child care, just from the State Department and the Department of Public Health, we're just waiting for final word on what and how and who can access childcare and from a campus. Can they not? So I'm gonna just hand it over to Hannah, and she's gonna give us a little bit more information on that, and just go through some of the plans or the outreach that we have begun to do in the community to see if and when that can happen, how we would approach that.
Good evening. So I'm Hannah Getty. I am the Director of Student Services. So childcare does fall under my watch, and we have our ELP program that we love dearly. And I just met with our Director of ELP and our staff today to sort of see what we can do. The issue, as Dr. Ficker mentioned, is there's conflicting information. So there can be state information, obviously federal information when it applies. We're not a federally funded program for childcare, but we are looking to see when we can allow students on our campus, but because of being on the county watch list, it looks like that we're not able to do that. However, there's a caveat that we can offer childcare for our staff, and that is a big need because many of our teachers, counselors, people that are going to have to be conducting the 6-7 hours of education throughout the day, daily instruction, have their own children who are no longer in school as well. So as you can see, the trickle effect, we're trying very hard to figure out how we can support our staff with that effort. So that's our first priority, is to see how we can make sure that our staff can do their jobs and we can help them by offering that childcare, because that is a caveat, like I said, that gives us a little bit of leeway where we would be able to offer that for our staff. As far as for our families, we have sent out a survey to our families asking for the need, and if they're essential workers, we want to prioritize, because when it does come to the point that we can allow students on campus, clearly we will have to keep them the students social distanced. So we are, if we usually have 900 students on a campus, the most we could have is, half of that maybe, but then you'd have to have the staff also to be able to do that. So we've looked at partnering with a few different agencies around that have reached out to us, just asking if they can be of service. We do have a campus that is fairly empty at the moment because it's transitioning to hopefully to become possibly a preschool down the road. But for right now, that campus is available. So if we could partner with this agency to use our facility where nobody is staffed, then we would maybe be able to service some of our students there. So there's some ideas in the works. Nothing has really been figured out, mostly because we don't have guidance. We don't know exactly what we are legally allowed to offer because, like I said, we're not a federally funded, state funded program. So there's different rules that we have to follow. But mostly we're looking for the need. Our primary concern is making sure that any of our families who are essential workers who need help with childcare so their students can be engaged in their learning all day. We are trying to find places for them. So we're happy to partner with the city if there are any ideas on that. My ELP staff asked about STARS program and other programs that we know often happen. So anything that is in the works that we could partner with you or any agencies within the city that have reached out to you, we would love to open up and communication on that and see what we could do for our families.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to comments or questions from board members, and we'll start with Member Nolenberg.
Yes, the last presentation you heard, it just emphasizes the mayor's or the governor's flip-flopping directions that he keeps giving the school system, and the other people who are in charge keep giving us different readings one way or the other of what's going on, and it's very difficult for us to plan anything when you see there isn't anything in writing that says we can go forward to do something. Other than that, I think we should commend the superintendent and her staff for the fine work she did for the presentations and everything. Thank you very much.
Okay, Member Lynn.
Yeah, I want to reiterate, our board's commendation of how agile our administrative team has been in all the change that has been happening. And I can anticipate that we're going to have more changes coming up. This pandemic is not going to be here forever. We're going to eventually phase into some sort of a hybrid model to reopen and then into a full traditional model. And we're also going to have parents, even though, let's say we have a vaccine, parents are still going to be afraid to bring their kids. And so this is not just like, oh, okay, solution. We have this vaccine serum and all of a sudden everything returns back to normal. It's going to be a phased approach. And I'm just very blessed and grateful to have a solid team in Temple City Unified School District.
Okay, Member Espinosa.
Yeah, so, thinking about childcare and the families of our district, it's just one of the biggest challenges, not only for school districts, but for all people who are essential workers and have their kids at home. And I think that, our executive board having to explore solutions without knowing what the guidances are, just exemplifies the challenges of the situation that we're in. But this is an excellent team, and the fact that they are just putting out their feelers to figure out what we can do for our families just speaks volumes for their dedication to the families. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Member Smith.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, and I'm not quite sure where we are with it, but I do know that we were surveying our teachers to find out if they would be interested in working out of their classrooms when we go to the distance learning. So, like all of you, most of you, I'm sitting in my dining room, and for a teacher to be doing that all day out of a room in their house maybe isn't as nice as it would be to do it from their classroom. So that's something that might be able to help them out a little bit too.
And I don't have anything additional to add to that, so we'll move on to the City Council. Mayor Chavez.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Mann, any questions or comments?
No, I found the information really informative, and thank you for the presentation, and thank you for taking care of your staff.
Thank you. All right, Council Member Vizcarra had to take a break. So Mayor Pro Tem, you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm just very impressed with the level of thought that have gone into preparing. So just want to comment and congratulate on the great work on the school board and superintendent.
Okay, thank you. I had a question. I guess it's kind of related to facility use. What about the sports programs? Are they going to be playing? Obviously, they're not going to be playing football, I guess. Has that already been determined? And any discussion on that in that area?
Dr. Fricker, do you want to answer that? Oh,
Sorry.
You
So-
moved it. Oh, Hannah's gonna answer.
I can answer. We're more than 6 feet apart, and we were just saying, do you want to answer it? Do you want to answer it? There aren't a lot of answers. That's part of the problem. So CIF did come out with an adjusted schedule. They're very hopeful that they can cram all of their normal sports into like December to past the end of school. So we shall see. I think it's very hopeful, but if football can start in December, it'll be a very interesting football season to go through the rainy, muddy months. But, you know, I know we all want to see sports come back. We all want, especially in Temple City, the spring is very important to us. And there's a lot that goes on, and we want those things to be able to happen. And back to our senior class, you know, it was very awful what happened to the class of 2020. And at the minimum, at least they got 3/4 of a senior year. And our class of 21, we really worry about, and very seriously on a social emotional level, your senior year is momentous, and we want to be able to make that as momentous as possible for these students. So we're very worried about those things. Again, the guidance on community sports, they can happen within certain realms, but again, I think being on the county watch list trumps all of that. So I think that's part of the concerns is while there are legal, there's legal guidance on what can happen. It's more of like an if this, then this type of thing. So from what we understand right now, we cannot do anything because of our significant place on the county watch list. We need to see some quickly decreasing with the positivity rate and the cases per 100,000. So as of right now, no students are allowed on campus. We do have parent groups that are very disappointed. They want, you know, small groups of students to be able to come on. Some of our auxiliaries, which are like our tall flags, our cheer program, some of our, you know, other programs, just because the students, we all know that's what makes high school fun. As much as we all love to learn, they need the interaction and the fun things that they've done for all of these years. So we are hoping that very soon we can do those things. But as of right now, no, we are not able to do those.
Thank you. Councilmember Viscara, did you have any questions or comments on this item?
No, not at all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we will now move on to district and city communication. Who's going to take that one?
Okay. Did you want to say if there was any public comment or?
Oh,
did we already?
you know, it's getting, this is a long meeting now. I'm getting a little punchy, it looks like.
Okay, all
yeah,
right, we'll move right along.
My bad.
All right.
No, I'm glad we have someone else looking over. So I will open up public comment, ask our city clerk if there are any email requests on this item.
Mayor Chavez, there are no email public comment requests.
Okay, and if you want to open up the mics for the public out there, if there's anybody out there who's listening in would like to comment on this matter. Hearing none, I will close public comments, and now we will move on to the district city communication.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully
Thank you.
this one won't be as long. Dr. Fricker, did you want to talk about, or Hannah again?
I can talk about it.
Thank you, Hannah.
We can keep this very brief. So as you know, during the spring, we did put out bi-weekly communication, and we post them to our website and we posted them to Facebook. We have a new communication system that's going to be very accessible to everyone. Our teachers can access it, get a hold of our student groups, our parent groups, and we can then add external users. So the way our communication system will work is that it pulls from what we call our SIS, which is our student information system, or ARIES. If you're a parent, you've had an ARIES parent portal. It pulls that information and goes into what our new program is called Parent Square. And that goes out to all of our parents. But we have the ability to add external users who are not necessarily parents in the district. So we're happy to partner with the city. If there's a list of people, if I can get it in like a CSV file, some sort of Excel spreadsheet that I could load up for people that you would like to always get our parent communication, I'd be happy to do that. We also hope to have a live feed going to Facebook, as our Facebook, our Temple City Facebook, as well as our website.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Member Lynn, do you have any questions or comments?
No comments.
Okay. Member Espinosa?
No comments.
Member Smith? Member Nolenberg? Member
comment.
Nolenberg?
No comments.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just wanted to say that I think under normal circumstances, having good communication is important. But under these COVID circumstances, I think the more we can do to communicate with the public, the better. And I know there's been a couple of times I've thought, wow, too bad we didn't have that information. We could have sent that out. For one example, Adam will appreciate this, is the Temple City's Got Talent. We have so many talented students in our district, and had we had that information in advance, we could have included it in what we were sending out. Conversely, you know, we had 2 students who were in the congressional art contest, and one of our students placed first, and her artwork is on display at the nation's capital. And normally the student gets a trip to Washington, D.C. And of course, this year she isn't getting it. But wouldn't it be nice if the city had known about that and could have recognized her for that? So I think if we can develop some kind of channels of communication between the city and the school district, we can help each other and help the community at large. So with that, we'll go on to comments.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Mann, any questions, comments?
Well, just to keep it brief, I know we have the standing committee between the city and the school board. And prior to the pandemic, we had been meeting rather regularly. And I know it's just 2 members from each side, but in my opinion, you know, being on that committee, that facilitated a lot of the communications back and forth. I mean, these types of meetings with the full board and the full council has its pros and cons. But in terms of facilitating quick information, I agree with Board President Georgino. If there's a way that even at a staff level between the city and the school, that we can have quick exchanges of information. And then if we can, after things maybe settle down a little bit more, we could kind of resume the standing committee meetings on a more regular basis, so that if there are any higher priority issues that the city and the school can work together, those can be communicated quickly between the electeds as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Viscarro? Anything to say?
I think he was saying it, but he was
Forgetting
muted.
about my mic. Yeah. No comments.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, you?
Yeah, I agree. The improving communication would be a great thing, and I think the example quoted had shown that something we can certainly improve that. So I would suggest Mr. Cook and Superintendent Fricker get together and perhaps on a more frequent basis, or maybe delegate that to one of your staff member to have more, instead of just relying on perhaps the standing committee to meet.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. The communication issue has always been there. It seems to get good, get well, and then it goes away, and then it comes back. I think we have to keep reminding ourselves that it's important not only that we communicate with you, but that you also communicate with us, and especially when it comes to recognizing special accomplishments. I have a habit, I'm kind of old school, and whenever I see someone in the community do something extra special or just special, I'd like to send them a handwritten note. We have actually special cards printed up for that very same reason. And so if anybody can let me know when there is something like that that happens, whether it be from the school or in the community or your neighbor, please let me know, let Brian or staff at City Hall know. And definitely we need to, especially in today's world, recognize those accomplishments, whether it be at a council meeting virtually, or as I said, I love to send these special notes to them. And it's an important thing to do, I think, even more so today. So thank you for that. So with that, I will open up public comment to ask our city clerk if there are any public comment emails on this matter.
No, Mayor, there are no email public comment requests.
Thank you. And if you open up the mics, we'll check to see if there's anybody who is listening in would like to comment on this matter.
Actually, I would if I can.
Yes, go ahead, Matt.
It just occurred to me, sometime back, we used to have a link to the city's website on our website, and the city used to have a link to the district's website. I don't think I've seen that lately, and I think maybe that would be something we should both do, so that you can stay connected a little bit more that way.
It's a great idea, and Mr. Cook, if you'll follow up on that, and we'll see if we can get that reconnected, that'd be great. Okay. All right, I will now close public comment, and we will now move on to item 5, possible list for families in need of internet access in places in Temple City who offer free Wi-Fi connection.
Okay, who's gonna do this one?
That's me.
Anna?
Just a quick request. It was just something that's come up. We do have, well, the internet companies were able to offer free internet service. I don't know or believe that they'll be doing that now. And it wasn't accessible for all families. So we have purchased some hotspots. We do have some, and we focused more on our McKinney-Vento families, which would be our families that are designated as homeless, and some of our families that are struggling. We have a lot of families that are facing joblessness and other concerns. So we know that internet access is going to be a concern for our families. And so I was just wondering if there's a list from the city, or there are places where people can go. It was more difficult when it was a safer at home, with the safer at home not being fully in effect, although, you know, there's still social distancing. If there are places that they could go to access Wi-Fi during the school day, it would be really helpful if we could give a resource list out to our families.
Okay, thank you. And we'll have comments by board members. Member Espinosa?
No, I do think it would be really helpful for families that are in need to know where they can access free Wi-Fi. It's pretty critical for the students and their learning day. And so, you know, I also support the need for some list to be developed.
Thank you. Member Smith?
No, I absolutely agree with what Melissa just said, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, Member Nolenberg?
Yes, I agree with the two board members who just spoke, but I think the city used to on Golden West, where the library was, outside the library, you could use the HIFI connection, couldn't you? You could get it there. I don't know if you moved it to the chamber, the old chamber building on Temple City Boulevard or Los Tunas Boulevard in Sultana, or not. Thank you.
Mr. Cook, did you want to respond to that question?
Member?
Hold on, before
sure.
we move on. Brian, there was a quick question. Did you hear it? About,
yes, thank you.
The library?
With the renovation of the Temple City Library, that access is disabled for a while. So at this point, there won't be anything in the park or anything like that for a good, probably another 10 to 12 months.
Thank you.
But there will be after that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hopefully we'll be back to normal by then. Let's see, Member Lynn?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts about that. A few years ago, Google was going to launch Google Balloons, balloons, right? I don't know where it went with that project. I know SpaceX is launching these satellites, Starlink. By the time that's done, I think the pandemic is over. But another idea is a few years ago, the Inland Empire school districts with really large territories to cover, they had their school buses distributed in key locations where they were broadcasting out, wireless signals. I don't know if that's possible where we could, I don't know what the cost factor is, but have our maintenance trucks at night, if they are not being used, house some of the hotspots at key locations without getting parking citations from the city. And if that's a possibility, or the more expensive possibility is where we can have distribute the hotspots directly to the kids. But then, you know, just like how we check out Chromebooks, we're going to be checking out hotspots. And that really doesn't involve the county law enforcement writing tickets to our maintenance trucks parked at, you know, certain locations.
Thank you. I had a question. During the spring, there was internet available in the parking lot at the school district office. Is that still going to be available in the fall? Okay.
Yes, all of our buildings are surrounded.
Okay. All right. So I guess to sum this up, if there's anything that the city knows of, if they could forward that on to Dr. Fricker or Hannah, we would certainly appreciate it, and it would be very beneficial to our students.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Mann, any comments or questions?
No comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Viscara,
No comment.
Mayor Pro Tem, you?
My only comment is, I would like to ask Mr. Cook to reach out to LA County Library, because it is the county's libraries. I think they do normally offer free Wi-Fi, and perhaps that's something that they may have overlooked during the renovation, because we're also funding half of the renovation costs. I think it would be good for us to ask the county if they can somehow put something back during the course of construction as well. That's all my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to suggest the same. Even though our main library is closed for a while, we do have the annex, which is not really, it also closed down, but perhaps something can be done to accommodate perhaps some internet access out of that building, which is the old chamber building on Las Tunas. I think it's a very reasonable request. I would also ask City Manager Cook to perhaps work with staff to determine if there are any possibilities, any information that we can provide. Also may want to contact the Chamber of Commerce. I know that a lot of times they will work with their members as well. And so there are a couple of things that we can do, I think, and look into it. So I think certainly we'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I also add something?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, perhaps we can also look at, at City Hall and Live Oak Park, what will be needed if the city were to provide something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good idea. So we'll have more to report back on that, and we'll direct staff to look into that for you. Okay, I will then open up public comment on this matter. We'll begin by asking our city clerk if there are any email requests.
No, Mayor, there are no email requests.
Okay, and if you'll open up the mics at this time, anyone from the public wish to comment on this matter?
Muted.
Hearing none, I will close public comment. Okay, well, thank you. That concludes the Temple City Unified School District's portion of providing very good information to all of us. So thank you very much for doing that. So now we will move on to the Temple City update. Let me ask you something. So we've been going for 2 hours. Is everybody okay? Do you need a break? No, yes, we're okay. I don't think we've got too much to add to this. So I don't know. I don't want to put Mr. Cook under a timeline, but unless anybody has a burning desire, why don't we go ahead and get through this if we can. So obviously, if you need to take a break, you can just turn your camera off and take a break. So, all right. So we will now move on to an update on city operations. So Mr. Cook, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. And yes, after hearing me for about 5 minutes, you'll want to take a break and turn off your camera. Thank you, Mayor Chavez and members of the council. thank you to the board members who I haven't met before and the members of staff and Dr. Vicker as well. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. Real briefly, what have we been doing since the pandemic and the Safer at Home order started? Well, through various communication means, we've been trying to keep the public aware that vital services remain intact and operating. We've been doing that successfully on our social media platforms. One of the struggles we've been having is for people who don't have social media. How do they get information? How do they get that? And we're still working on that issue. Generally, this event really required a significant pivot in how we provide many of our services. Credit to the City Council for many years of their strong financial stewardship of the city to put us in the position to do two things. One, provide the necessary tools in order to provide continuing services, and providing those resources, which allowed us to really adjust quickly and promptly as this event was happening. At the beginning of the Safer at Home order, just like the school district, our city facilities were closed for the safety of our employees and for the public. The city services that require generally in-person visits and parks and recreation services went virtual, and they went virtual over some immediately, but some gradually over time. For example, our community development department right away, day one, was able to take on online permitting. So all the things that you deal with building something, our planning department was able to adjust and be able to do those things online. And most recently, and Mr. Matsumoto will give a brief presentation in a moment about the parks, but we did what would be traditionally our outdoor Campapalooza. We did that online recently. So we did become partially a digital city hall. Other services cannot be virtual. Our essential life safety services, policing, fire, building inspection, call-out services for public hazards remained intact and have continued to service the community since the Safer at Home order was issued by the public health officer back in mid-March. All field services have been intact. Our public works, our park maintenance, our urban forestry unit, as I mentioned before, our contract with the Sheriff's Department and Fire Department have been fully functional during this time, ensuring that they have proper PPE, social distancing, and following all the other health department guidelines. Along the lines with our Sheriff's Department since COVID-19 has issued additional patrols. We have a contract with LA County Sheriff's Department for a certain amount of patrols throughout the unincorporated areas of LA County and all of the contract cities. Additional patrols have been deployed and continue to be deployed throughout this declared emergency. On top of that, our dedicated deputies, all three now, one of whom you'll meet at some point, Joe Zuniga, who's been out for a period of time. Francis Bowie is temporarily replacing him. You'll get to meet him at some point or another. Have been out and still dealing with the quality of life calls that we deal with on a daily basis. The Sheriff's Department and Fire Department, with that, the Sheriff's Department and Fire Department are not doing the same type of community engagement type of events. For example, Neighborhood Watch, which on August 20th, we will be trying our first virtual Neighborhood Watch meeting. You'll be seeing there is a Nixle post out and a social media post out will be going out soon for anybody to attend. We'll be able to accommodate up to 500 folks. How we'll be able to manage that will be a challenge. We'll figure out how to do that as it goes along. Also mechanically within City Hall, since the event started, the City Hall operator has been available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. And being able to assist with service calls, general concerns, doing what we could to get information to the public. Several weeks ago, we began to allow members of the public to come to City Hall by appointment only, and with proper masking and a health check and all the self-health check and a temperature check as well. After initial surge of appointments in the last few weeks, we've seen that stabilize. So we think that was a buildup of the appointments, and now it's a little more stable. From the standpoint of direct assistance, the city council has almost about 2 months ago directed what is called our community block grant funding to be directed exclusively to COVID-19 assistance. That assistance included direct rental assistance for renters who were having COVID-19 problems and issues documented related to a loss of a job or childcare issues, to assist with rental assistance for 3 months. Additionally, we are deploying resources from that same funding source for small business assistance. Primarily, first, our restaurants, who are a vital part of our economy in Temple City, and then to other tiers of businesses as well. So on top of that, though, we still have been doing major public works projects throughout the city. The city council just authorized us to go out to bid to do a repavement of the rest of Las Tunas over the summer. We did Las Tunas from Sultana to Muscatel. We will be finishing that from Sultana to Baldwin this fall. It will be just a 3-inch grind and overlay, meaning it's just, you're gonna see nice new pavement up and down Las Tunas. Over the next few months after that, we will be hitting the residential streets as much as we can. Also too, we right before the pandemic, we received a state grant of $3 million to finish the city's first new park at Primrose and Workman. That is called Primrose Park. The council just received an update on that, and we should be going out to bid in the next couple months, and hopefully with a target date of completion in September of next year. So when we're able to actually enjoy a park in a manner that's conducive to typical enjoyment of outdoor facilities, we'll be able to do that with the community. As was mentioned, the county library, and as Mayor Pro Tem Mew mentioned, we provided some substantial financial assistance to the county library system to completely gut and expand the existing library. That construction contract was awarded by the county right before the pandemic started, and construction is going on. There have been challenges and delays, but they should be on target and completion hopefully around that same time when things can start to reopen. So fortuitous timing in that sense, in the sense that we are able to do some of these public works projects while the pandemic is happening, and where it would be more disruption to the community. Hopefully us doing these projects and the council authorizing us to do many of these projects it allows us to improve our infrastructure, but at the same time provide the least amount of disruption as possible to the community. One of the service areas that makes the city so special is our special events and our outdoor community celebrations and gatherings. Unfortunately, we've had to adjust as well because of that health order. So while the parks are open in a very modified manner, gatherings are obviously not allowed, playground equipment is not allowed to be accessed. But I'm gonna just take a few moments for our Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Adam Matsumoto, to describe how they've pivoted with programming and services to the community. So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Mr. Matsumoto for just a few moments.
Great, thank you so much, City Manager Cook. Again, good evening to the City Council and school board members, city and school district staff. I have a short presentation on some of our modified Parks and Recreation programming. We'll start off with our senior meal program. We were able to transition from a daily congregate lunch program to a weekly delivery program, where every Tuesday we're able to deliver 5 meals to just over 100 participants on a weekly basis. We've continued that program as a delivery program since the end of March through our current situation, and are looking at extending that throughout the end of the calendar at the very least. we've been able to partner with Microsoft to provide virtual enrichment workshops. Over the course of May through July, we've been able to offer 33 workshops at no cost for both youth and adult participants. As mentioned before by earlier in the meeting, the city transitioned to a virtual Temple City's Got Talent. We've been pleasantly surprised with the digital reach of our virtual content program. So we had 20 participants, 3 different age categories. To date, we've had over 2,400 views on the city's YouTube account. As a follow-up to Temple City's Got Talent, our Mayor Chavez assisted with the award show that following week. We had a interactive People's Choice Award with over 2,600 votes. And again, we utilized the city's social media accounts to display this program. Our summer concert series was a little bit of a blend of the traditional concerts that normally take place at Temple City Park. We pre-shot and pre-recorded these concerts and were able to air 4 of them in the month of July. Again, the digital reach has been, we've been very, very surprised and happy with how the community's responded to a lot of these virtual programs. To date, again, after last week's concert, we've had over 6,400 total views for the 4 concert series. Again, run as a virtual program through the Zoom app. We're currently in the midst of our summer day camp program. It's a 6 weeks, 1 week sessions. Staff are able to work with our participants between 9 to 4. Within that time frame, some of it is live guided content and others are kind of break on your own time frames. And currently we have 101 participants for our summer day camp program. As City Manager Cook had mentioned, we went to a virtual Campapalooza event. We had 22 participants last Friday. And again, we're utilizing our Zoom video conferencing software to run these virtual programs. Finally, we have our drive-in movie series. This is one of those programs that we are able to offer on-site following the LA County Department of Health guidelines. The first night is sold out, which is this Friday, and it's going to be Sonic the Hedgehog. And we are utilizing the Live Oak Park athletic fields for this 2 movie night series. And that concludes my presentation, unless the council or school board has any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. Mr. Cook, did you have anything further you wanted to add, or should we take some questions now?
I'll just close out. Thank you to Dr. Vicker, Marianne Sorrell, who I talked to as well, and all the staff at the school district for continuing to work with us, working with our public safety supervisor, Mr. Azumi, as we've been dealing with small things here and there. I appreciate that. This event has really forced us to really reimagine and adjust and maintain our what is essential and relied upon services by the community. The council has really put us in a position, and their leadership has really put us in a position to be sustainable today and into the future. And lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't say how impressed I know I and the entire council have been with our staff, who have been amazing, creative, and dedicated. They have been a real inspiration for us during these times. This is not an easy time to be a public servant. And for their courage, they are really demonstrating what it means to provide public service. So with that, that concludes our presentation, Mayor Chavez.
Thank you. Okay, we'll call on council members for any comments on this matter. Councilmember Mann, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just want to mention one more thing. It might seem like a minor matter, but during the pandemic, we had been halting a lot of our sweeping and overnight parking enforcement. And I believe we made a decision to street sweeping enforcement at the beginning of September. But we will not be enforcing overnight parking So considering, schools going virtual, so a lot of people are going to be home. That might be some good information to pass along. I know from our social media sites as well as our email blast, we reach a certain number of folks, but the school district, I'm certain in your form of communication to the families in Temple City, you could also have a considerable reach in relaying information like that could have an impact on our families. So I would maybe recommend Mr. Cook. I don't know if we have a flyer prepared or some sort of information that we can maybe forward to the school if they have an ability to use their means to communicate with. I think with our combined sort of network of being able to communicate to our constituents, we could reach a considerable amount of people in Temple City. And I just want to also mention that I'm really very proud of our city manager Cook for his leadership during this time. We see across the news that there are a lot of agencies all over the nation that may have opened too soon. and we see some of the repercussions of that. A lot of us thought we'd be out of the woods by this time of the year, but we aren't. We're still, we talk about flattening the curve, and some people say, oh, it's the second wave, but we're still dealing with the first wave. At least that's what the scientists are telling us. And so a lot of the decisions on how City Hall reopens and how it's phased out and how our staff and the schedules and our facilities, all these intricacies that go into that, which is evident in a lot of your planning and how the schools reopen. There are a lot of parallels to the challenges that we on the city side have had to face. So I just want to commend him as well as all of our staff for adapting very quickly and adapting very well. And I think just even in the brief presentation that Mr. Matsumoto has given, we've done as much as we can to try to switch over to a lot of these virtual programs. And I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of us probably aren't used to that, but it's some kind of the new reality that we're facing now. So I just want to thank him, and of course I want to thank my council colleagues for being resourceful, coming up with great ideas, and offering support for the entire city family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Vizcarra, any comments or questions?
Just briefly, I'd like to thank the superintendent and of course Brian. One of the things that I've found since I came back on the council is that our communication stream is pretty good. Brian lets us know whenever something's happening, and we are always able to get whoever we need in order, even though City Hall is closed down, whenever we need them, we can get them. There's always somebody, there's a go-to person. It sounds like the school district is doing a similar kind of thing. So thank you both. And that's it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When it comes to city operations, hats off must be to Mr. Cook, his staff, and council colleagues, and in particular, Mayor, yourself for leadership. It's no joke when you talk about being a mayor during pandemic and also crisis, and we appreciate your leadership in guiding us through this, providing stability. During this time, it is a really a struggle and a balancing act to balance between providing and continuing with city services in spite of the pandemic. So I think really need to thank Mr. Cook for that. And also at the same time be creative, like Councilmember Mann had alluded to, coming up with new ways of dealing with the pandemic. Taking advantage of putting out more work on the public street because there are fewer traffic. to also looking at creative way of stimulating and helping businesses, such as we just waived the fees for outdoor dining. And like Councilmember Mann had said, we no longer require people we allow people to park overnight, even though on trash day they still need to remove their cars, move their cars to the other side of the street, and allowing people to leave their businesses, to leave their banners on a little bit longer. I mean, a lot of creative ways of helping the businesses during this pandemic. The other one I'm thankful for is really the conservative nature of our fiscal policies. I looked across and saw a lot of our municipal friends, other cities, i.e., having to lay off people, cut back on services, and cut back on programs. And I'm grateful that we don't have to do that. As a matter of fact, we're able to keep our staff during this time, because our staff is our greatest asset that provides services to our residents. So I am happy to report that things are going on well in the city in spite of this pandemic.
Thank you for those comments. Thank you. Ever since this pandemic has begun, or when it started, Mr. Cook and I have spoken on the phone every day. Just to make sure that, everything is going well as can be expected. And, as Councilmember Mann stated, there are a lot of parallels over the challenges that we face as well as the school board faces. There's no question about that. And, brings to mind that old saying about thinking outside the box. And I think tonight we have shown that both the school board and the city has taken that challenge and has moved outside the box and try to figure out what is best for our community. And we've taken the approach, of course, that unless there's a compelling reason to change, or at least to change from what we have been doing the last few months, we're going to keep doing the things we're doing. We're going to keep providing the services that we always have provided. And until that situation arises where we can no longer provide those services, then obviously we will look for things or ways to accomplish those. And of course, leadership is always the key. And it makes me feel good about the fact that I believe that we have both strong leadership on the board and with the city council. I think something that has been lacking, as we have seen both on the federal and state level at times, and may lead to some of the problems that we are having. So, it's always nice to know that local government can take care of themselves, and that includes the school districts as well. And not that we don't need help, of course, but we don't wait for it, and we move on, and we do what's best for our constituents. So with that, I will move on to public comment. Is there any, oh no, I'm sorry, we need to go to the board president comments. We went out of order. So President Georgino, go ahead.
Yes, Member Espinosa.
I just wanted to thanks for the information related to the parking, because I know I've seen in my social media pages people asking questions about the parking. So thank you very much for that information. I also want to commend the city for the creative thinking to keep people engaged and bring some, much needed opportunities for smiling and, and camaraderie, even if it's just with your own family, breaking up the routine. I think it's really very much needed for everybody's mental health. So thank you so much. And I also have noticed, when entering the city, there's the reminders about, wearing your mask and staying safe. And I think that's, I don't see that in every city that I drive through. And so, but I have noticed it when entering into, Temple City. So thank you for that as well.
Member Smith?
I really don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you. Member Nolenberg?
Yes, I just like to thank the city and Mr. Cook for keeping the city functions and services up to date and still running. And also, I'd like to thank them for having the portable signs that they have at City Hall and other places where they managed to tow it out and put up appropriate messages on the pandemic and other stuff. It's a way of communicating with people who drive through the city. Thank you.
Member Lynn?
Yeah, I just want to add that I'd like to express my appreciation for all that our city does for our joint constituents. Although the pandemic is a shared global human experience, it is really the local government and agencies that have, I would say, a big impact on the experience and well-being of our constituents.
Thank you. I wanted to thank the City Council and city staff for all their hard work during this pandemic, and especially for your help in celebrating the class of 2020 and assisting with the graduation tomorrow night. We really appreciate that. And I know the community does also. Additionally, I wanted to comment about the presentation that Adam did. As usual, the Parks and Recreation Department is putting out some great programming, and hopefully we can get some of that information, Adam, to the school district. I think there's some things there that we can share with our families that they'd be very interested in. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll open up public comment. Ask our city clerk if there are any email requests to speak on this item.
Mayor, there are no email requests for public comment.
And if you'll please open up the microphones. Is there anybody out there listening that would like to comment on this matter? Hearing none, I will close public comment. Just before we leave this issue, I just want to remind everybody that you know, City Hall is open for business, albeit in a different way. And I understand, you know, on media sources and a lot of different people out there talking on the media, and I've always questioned or was confused by the fact that somebody would ask somebody else about something that's going on in the city rather than maybe just contacting the city, because we're there and we will answer those questions. So, you know, please, you know, if anybody has a question, you know, you can contact me or any other council member, Brian. We're all accessible and we're all there to help. And as I'm sure you guys are as well. And so I'm sure you guys get the same thing. It gets a little frustrating when people start asking other people questions that we can certainly answer, but we don't get those until there's all kinds of rumors spread out there. But anyway, so just a reminder to that. All right, so next item will be the Joint Facilities Use Agreement and City Programs. Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. I think Dr. Trigger kind of talked about the constraints that the school district has for the foreseeable future. So once those clouds part and we have blue skies, we have a more robust discussion about how that would look in terms of programming and services for the community. So that's all I have for that issue for today.
Okay, thank you. That was short. Any questions or comments, Councilmember Mann?
Yeah, I think Mr. Cook, I concur with what he's saying. I think at the last standing committee meeting between the school district and the city, that was probably the last time this was mentioned. Of course, this was pre-pandemic and the equation has changed. Everyone's priorities have shifted, and you know, the criteria for what makes a safe program, a safe use of facilities is now shed in a completely different light. So Of course, we will have to evaluate it later. I do want to just bring up that at the last standing committee meeting, we know the district had mentioned that they were doing a fee study for their facilities. Granted, perhaps, again, that was pre-pandemic. We don't know if that has any implications on future discussions, but I guess my question was that ever completed? And is that something that is relevant, or I'm not sure if anyone really has an answer now, but I just remember that was something that was discussed back in, was it February or so? Mr. Cook, do you know if we have any information on that from the school?
I would have to respectfully defer to the superintendent on that issue.
So yes, we have completed the fee study, but since we're not renting out our facilities, it's kind of a moot point. But the minute that we do get clearance from the LA County Department of Public Health to kind of reopen our schools to the public, then prior to that, you know, Mr. Cook and I will be in constant communication as to how that is shifting. There's going to be phases of people coming back on. So as we get nearer to that, we can open up that for conversation, and then programming, and then really look at the city in terms of what programming they would like to offer or what you're currently planning to offer.
I just think there's a lot of room for creative ways to address this issue as we move forward.
Thank you. And I think I'm actually on that standing committee now. Am I not?
Yes.
So, yes. I look forward to hopefully having another meeting one of these days. I enjoy being part of that. So, good. All right, Councilmember Vizcarra, anything else that you would like to say on this matter? You're mute. You're on mute.
Good to know.
There you go. Okay, thanks. Mayor Pro Tem, you?
Obviously, with the pandemic, the joint use perhaps is on the back burner, but I just want to emphasize the city would really, I would like the city sees the school district as a partner in serving our joint constituents. So, you know, looking forward to the two entities working out something collaboratively. At the end of the day, it's the same people that we're serving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, this joint use, you know, is a sort of a broad area, and I think it lies at the heart of our partnership, really, between the city and the school district, as far as the joint use of facilities and city programs. And so certainly all that's, as Mayor Pro Tem you said, is kind of on the back burner for now, but obviously we know the importance of that, and hopefully we'll be able to discuss those things in the future. Mayor, Councilmember Mann brought something to my mind when you mentioned the fee study. Before all this started too, weren't you guys going to be doing an active shooter training? I guess that didn't go anywhere, I take it, right? That's still gone, right? Okay. Matt's giving me the sign. Okay. Go ahead.
It was scheduled for March 15th, I believe, and so that kind of got postponed.
Yeah, that was the hot time. Yeah.
Right around.
All right, so maybe in the future, I guess, obviously, who knows? All right, okay, good. Thank you very much. Okay, President Georgino?
Yes, we'll start with Board Member Smith.
Yeah, I will just say this from the board side of the house. I guess I was the only one here back in the day when we had the facility use agreement, and I thought it worked well at the time. I don't know why it fell apart, and I'm only speaking for myself, as I only can, but I would love to see us move back in that direction.
Thank you. Member Nolenberg?
I have no comments per se. Hopefully, the facility agreement will be put in place soon. Joint facilities agreement will be put in place soon. Thank you.
Member Lynn?
Yeah, I feel the same way, mainly because, you know, we are accountable to the taxpayers. And my video is off because my internet right now is shaky. So I'm trying to save some bandwidth. But my point is, you know, we're accountable to taxpayers, especially with the high unemployment numbers. And so when we're able to leverage joint use facilities that will benefit our students and our community and their parents, I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I agree with Council Member Mann about being creative in how we look at these investments and assets that we all share. These are community assets, these facilities, and how we can creatively leverage that and benefit our community. I'm all for that.
Thank you. Member Espinosa?
I agree with all of the statements from my fellow board members. I mean, we've discussed this in our board meetings, concerns related to, you know, where we are currently. And so I'm definitely supportive of finding some creative solutions to address the issue and, you know, to make sure that we give every possible opportunity and, you know, for our community so that they can benefit from our joint partnership. So yes, looking forward to looking at that further once this pandemic is settled.
Thank you. We did a board self-evaluation a few months ago. And during that evaluation, one of the things we discussed and our goal for the future is to collaborate more, cooperate more, coordinate more with our community partners so that we can benefit our students. So definitely this joint use agreement is on our radar and something that we want to pursue with the city. I've brought it up to many of you before. I came from Duarte, where the school district and the city had a very extensive, not a joint, well, there are several joint use agreements, but just a very extensive working relationship. And it's a win-win for both, and it's a double win for the community. So I really want to see something like that here in Temple City. There's something else I was going to say. Oh, I know. Being the impatient person that I am, I would encourage our standing committee to maybe get together sooner rather than later. I know the last time we discussed this joint use agreement, we were looking at something maybe being 9 months to a year away. And I don't want the pandemic to end and then we have to wait another 9 months or a year before we can get something going. So from my viewpoint, I'd like to get something, start talking, start working on something so that when the pandemic is over, we're able to start moving into something that'll benefit our community. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea. And who are the standing committee members on your side? Is it Matt and Donna? And then of course, Superintendent Fricker and City Manager Cook, of course, are participants. I agree. And why don't we direct staff to get that moving and have it sooner than later? If anything, just to get the you know, communication going again and any other issues. I think it's a good time. I know you guys are busy with the beginning of the school year, but you know, we can always schedule a Zoom meeting or whatever at any time. So just let us know and we'll get that going. That's a great idea. You know, I just have to comment before I open up the public comments. When I was first elected back in 2009, and Matt probably remembers this, the school board and the city did not speak to each other at all. I mean, basically, there was no relationship at all. And I remember coming in and I go, what the heck is going on here? How can that be? You know, and I remember Matt was part of that. Not Matt wasn't part of the not wanting to be with us or to talk, but I remember we would talk and said, we got to get this thing back together. And we've come a long ways, but I think for a couple of reasons, maybe, and obviously with what's going on in the world, we've had not more important things, but other things to catch our view. And so I think it's a good idea that we get back into that and regularly meet as Councilmember Mann mentioned. It's a good idea to regularly meet, and because we have a lot of things in common. So good stuff. Okay, so let me open up the public comments. City Clerk, do we have any email public comment requests?
No, Mayor, there are no email public comment requests.
Okay, and if you'll unmute the microphone. Is there anyone out there that would like to comment on this matter? Hearing none, I will close public comment. And we are now ready to move on to a highlight of city and school district upcoming events. And why don't I turn to City Manager Cook to announce any upcoming city events that we haven't already mentioned, perhaps, if you have any.
I think I mentioned the upcoming Neighborhood Watch meeting on August 20th, which Mr. Azumi has actually been on participating in the meeting too, and thanks for him to all his work behind the scenes of things I talked about prior. So that will be going out via social media. You can register now on and social media posts will be hitting as well. That'll be our most recent thing.
Thank you. Superintendent Fricker, is there anything you would like to announce that you haven't already spoken to?
So I'm going to reiterate, we have graduation tomorrow on the 7th, so we're all excited about that. And then we do, the first day of school for students is August 26th. So we are excited to see our students again and offer this online academic environment for them.
Good. Yes, I'm looking forward to the graduation tomorrow, so I'll see you there. So looking forward to that. It's amazing how quickly the summer has gone. Here we are talking about the school year starting, which seems like we just ended, and here we are again. So, okay. Now, the next item is a discussion for future meetings. I think that was not a typo, but I think that was more for the standing committee meetings that we had to discuss future meetings. We've already talked about that. We're going to get a standing committee meeting going sooner than later, and then we'll see how that goes. And we in the past, I know we've met at least once a year for these joint meetings, and there's no reason not to stick with that, and maybe even sooner depending on the situation. So I think they're very helpful. I think a lot of information was exchanged tonight that many of us were not aware of on each side. So it is certainly beneficial, not only to us and to the public. Okay, so we will now move on to item 7, our final public comment. I will begin by asking our city clerk if there are any email requests to speak at this time.
No, Mayor.
Thank you. And any of those who are calling in will unmute your microphones. Is there anyone out there that would like to say anything at this time? Very quiet out there. Okay, well, we'll close public comments. So we are now moving into our closing comments. So this is your final opportunity if you'd like. I know we've gone over a lot of information this evening, a lot of good information, but for anybody on the school board and anybody on council, this is your opportunity for any final comments. And of course, anyone else who has joined us in the meeting, if you'd like to make any final comments tonight. So why don't we go ahead and start with the school board, board member Espinosa. Do you have any final comments?
I just want to thank you all for the time today. I think it was very helpful, very informative. I think we have many things in common, which is great to hear. And, I think we can work together for the good of our community, and that's important. And so I'm just looking forward to more important work that we'll do together in the future.
Great, thank you. Board member Smith.
I don't want to belabor the point, but I found this meeting very valuable, and I hope we can continue this. I know, Tom, I've known you and Fern probably for at least 20 years in particular. And I've had a chance to get to know Vince and William and certainly Cynthia over the last 10 years or so. And I think we all have our hearts in the right place and our minds in the right place. And together, if we can collaborate, it's going to be very beneficial to our community, and I'm all for it.
Thank you. Board Member Nolenberg.
I'd just like to make a comment, general comment of all the hard work that both the city and the school district have made towards this epidemic and all the compromises they had to make to be able to make the city and the school board function properly. And I think Mr. Cook and our superintendent deserve special credit for keeping alive the city and the school board for the common interest of the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Vice President Lynn.
Yeah, I just want to thank our city for this collaboration and partnership. I appreciate the excellent work that is done by Dr. Fricker and Mr. Cook, and I look forward to our continued shared unity of purpose for our collective constituents and community.
Thank you. Board President Georgino.
Yes, I want to thank the city very much for hosting this meeting. Am I right to assume that next time the district would host it? Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, that will be, and hopefully it'll be live, so you'll have to provide refreshments and drinks for all of us as well. So.
Okay, we'll be happy to. Marisol does a great job.
That's good.
Our last meeting, I happened to notice, was 3 years ago. So we will make sure that it does not go that long before we have another meeting. And additionally, I look forward to having our standing committee meeting. Hopefully we can do that in the next couple of months. So I really think there's a lot of collaborating that we can do together for the benefit of the community. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Mann, any final comments?
Yeah, I just want to express my gratitude for this current school board. I think, while I may not know all of you personally for a long time, but just over the course of the last couple of years, I think you've all shown a great willingness to have just candid and honest dialogue. And I think that goes a long way. I feel like there's a level of trust between the city and the board now that can allow us to make good things happen. Despite the pandemic, I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. And just like Board President Georgino said, I'm looking forward to the next standing committee meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Vizcarra?
Yeah, I just want to say that I enjoyed this meeting tonight. I feel like I'm getting back in the flow of what's happening throughout the city. And Tom, I remember the period you were talking about where you walked in and you wondered what was going on. The feeling here is totally different. And I'm thankful for that. So I thank everybody who contributed and look forward to working with you some more.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Yu.
Likewise, I'm very appreciative of the spirit of collaboration and partnership between the school board and the city, and you know, very thankful to the school board members and Superintendent Fricker for your leadership in guiding everybody through this pandemic, and looking forward to working with everybody in the future. And finally, congrats to all the 2020 graduates.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to say this. I'm going to preface it by saying that I say this with a great deal of respect, and that is, when I look at these two entities, these two boards, I see a great combination of new and old. Now you have to figure out which group you belong to, okay? But when I see that, it makes me think look at these, we've got people who have been around, they know what's going on. We have people with new ideas. And so that's really what governing and running districts and things are all about. And I think, and to me that helps. And this is a good time in Temple City. It's unfortunate that, we all are facing this pandemic, of course, because I would have foreseen a lot more things happening at this time between the school district and the city, but that doesn't mean that we can't continue with that. And, I personally believe we have a great community, we have a great school district, and I really think that together, we will overcome all of this and actually come out even stronger on the other side. I really, truly believe that. That's a message that I've been sending to our residents, to our businesses, to just think that positive, and it will happen. And I truly believe that it will, perhaps more so for some areas than others, but I'm confident that the city of Temple City is in great hands, not only with the elected bodies, but also with those who are tasked with running the day-to-day operation. So, kudos to of course, Brian Cook and Superintendent Fricker, everyone who's participated tonight. You all have a hand in this. There's no question about this, and really appreciate staying with us for 3 hours. What do you think? I think that might be a new record for a joint meeting as well. So, and everyone's still here. So, okay. Yeah. All right. Is that it? Anything else? Superintendent Fricker, anything final comments?
No, I just want to thank you all, and I want to just thank the collaboration between myself and Brian Cook. It's been strong from the beginning. And so, that's the only thing I've ever known. And so I'm just really grateful for that. And questions are answered, and, whenever we need help or assistance, they're always there. So thank you so much to all of you, but thank you personally to Mr. Cook.
Thank you. Yeah, Brian's a pretty good guy. You just have to keep on top of him a little bit. You have to remind him of things once in a while, and he'll follow through eventually. So, go ahead, Mr. Cook. Any final words?
Sure, Mayor Chavez. No, I just want to thank the superintendent, her team, and thank you, and appreciate the time today.
All right. Thank you, guys. Okay, with that, I believe we are adjourned. And so thank you very much. Take care, everybody, and have a good evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, wear your mask, and stay away from each other. All right.